The Bible gives us glimpses of Jesus' life as a child and as a man in his 30s, but there is a haunting silence in between. From the age of 12, when he is last seen debating with the elders in the Temple of Jerusalem, until around the age of 30, when he reappears at the Jordan River to be baptized by John, the scriptures remain silent. 18 long years are missing, and with them, countless questions. Where did Jesus go? What did he do? Whom did he meet? Did he travel to distant lands, seeking wisdom among foreign sages? Or did he live quietly in Nazareth, preparing for his divine mission in silence? These missing years, often called the lost years of Jesus, have sparked centuries of speculation, legends, and even entire traditions. Today, we dive deep into this mystery, exploring every possibility, from ancient scrolls to hidden gospels, from Eastern temples to forgotten deserts. The canonical Gospels Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John provide little to no information about Jesus' teenage or young adult life. Luke offers a detailed account of his birth and childhood, but then leaps directly from the story of the temple at age 12 to his baptism nearly 2 decades later. For many believers, the silence is intentional, perhaps to emphasize the divine rather than the ordinary aspects of his life. But for historians and seekers, the silence invites speculation. Could the gospel writers have known more but chosen not to include it? Or did Jesus truly live an uneventful, hidden life until his mission began? The simplest explanation is that Jesus stayed in Nazareth, a carpenter's son. He may have worked alongside Joseph, learning the trade of woodworking and stone masonry. Quiet years, filled with routine, sweat, and labor. This view portrays Jesus as deeply human, immersed in ordinary village life, living under Roman occupation, and watching the struggles of his people. But some scholars argue, if the years were so ordinary, why would the Gospels remain silent? Would not his humility and work ethic serve as examples worth recording? Or is it that something far more extraordinary happened, something too strange, too controversial to be written in the official records? One of the most fascinating theories suggests that Jesus traveled east, toward India, Tibet, and Nepal. In the late 19th century, a Russian traveler, Nicholas Notovich, claimed to have discovered Tibetan manuscripts describing the life of a holy man named Issa who lived in India centuries ago. According to these texts, Issa studied the Vedas, learned from Hindu and Buddhist sages, and preached a message of love and equality that angered the Brahmins. He then supposedly traveled further into Tibet, absorbing Buddhist teachings on compassion and detachment before returning to Israel. Though many scholars dismiss Notovich's claims, the idea remains powerful. Could the moral and philosophical similarities between Jesus' teachings and Eastern traditions be more than coincidence? Did Jesus sit under the same skies as the Buddha's disciples, learning truths that would later echo in his Sermon on the Mount? Another tradition places Jesus in Egypt during these lost years. Egypt was already central to his story. Joseph and Mary fled there when Herod sought the life of the infant Jesus. Could he have returned there later in search of wisdom? Egypt, home to ancient temples, mystical sects, and Jewish communities, was a crossroads of spiritual knowledge. Some speculate that Jesus studied among the Essenes, a Jewish sect devoted to purity, prophecy, and preparation for the coming of the Messiah. The Essenes lived in the desert near Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls would later be found. Their teachings on ascetic living, ritual cleansing, and awaiting divine revelation bear striking similarities to themes in Jesus' ministry. A less common, but equally fascinating legend suggests Jesus may have traveled even further west, into Britain. According to medieval folklore, Joseph of Arimathea, the wealthy man who later provided the tomb for Jesus, was a trader in tin and may have brought a young Jesus with him to the British Isles. Some claim Jesus studied among the Druids, wise teachers who lived in harmony with nature and practiced ancient rituals. Though no historical evidence supports this tale, it reflects a deep human desire to place Jesus among every culture, as if each nation longs to claim a part of his hidden years. What if Jesus never left Judea at all? What if his lost years were not filled with travels, but with inner journeys? He may have lived quietly in Nazareth, studying the scriptures, meditating in the hills, fasting in the wilderness, and preparing himself spiritually. For 18 years, the Son of God may have walked unseen among his people, training his heart and soul in silence before the storm of his public ministry. These years, though hidden, would not be wasted. They would be the foundation for everything to come. Several non-canonical texts attempt to fill the gap of Jesus' missing years. The infancy Gospel of Thomas describes miraculous deeds of a young Jesus, shaping clay birds that come to life, striking down those who angered him, and astonishing teachers with his wisdom. These stories, though often fantastical, reflect an ancient hunger to know more about the hidden parts of Jesus' life. Each community, it seems, wanted to imagine what the silent years looked like, whether through miracles, travels, or secret teachings. Perhaps the lost years were not about travel, but about becoming. In silence, Jesus may have confronted solitude, temptation, and longing. In hiddenness, he may have shaped his identity not as Joseph's son, not as a carpenter, but as the Messiah. It is often in silence that greatness is born. Perhaps the gospel's silence is not an absence, but a mystery pointing us to the truth that the Son of God was preparing, unseen, for the moment when he would step into history and change the world forever. Modern historians wrestle with these questions, weighing evidence and myth. Some dismiss all speculation, insisting the silence of the Gospels proves only an uneventful life. Others see echoes of lost traditions, fragments of forgotten journeys, and hints of encounters erased from history. The truth may never be known, and perhaps that is the point. Mystery itself becomes a form of revelation, forcing us to seek, to question, to imagine. Across centuries, the silence surrounding Jesus' lost years has not discouraged imagination, it has ignited it. Every culture, every generation, and every artistic movement has attempted to lift the veil on these mysterious years. The result is a vast ocean of myths, artworks, and interpretations, each reflecting the hopes, fears, and spiritual longings of those who created them. In the Middle Ages, artists often depicted Jesus as a boy or young man wandering foreign lands, halo intact, teaching strangers with authority far beyond his years. Illuminated manuscripts sometimes showed him in the company of wise men dressed in Eastern garb, hinting at journeys to India, Persia, or Egypt. These images were not meant as history, but as spiritual suggestion, that Christ's wisdom transcended cultural borders, and that even in silence, he was teaching the nations. Legendary stories circulated as well. Some medieval texts claim that Jesus had studied with the Essenes or wandered into hidden monasteries, learning secret mystical knowledge. Others claimed he sought wisdom in the East, an undefined land of mystery and light. Though unprovable, these tales gave believers a sense that Jesus was not only their Messiah, but a universal figure whose presence touched all corners of the world. During the Renaissance, artists and scholars turned their attention to the human side of Jesus. Painters like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo emphasize his humanity, his body, and his earthly life. Some writers speculated quietly, what of the years unrecorded? Was he an apprentice learning craftsmanship? Was he a philosopher in secret? The Enlightenment brought more daring theories. Thinkers began to suggest that Jesus might have been shaped by hidden schools of wisdom, even by foreign philosophies that reached Judea through trade. Roots in coffee houses and scholarly gatherings. Whispers emerged. Could the silence of Scripture hide a secret history too dangerous for the Church to reveal? The 18th and 19th centuries saw a surge of interest in the mystical East. European travelers returned with stories of India, Tibet, and Persia. Soon, writers began linking these exotic lands with the silent years of Jesus. Poets imagined him walking along the Ganges or meditating with sages in Himalayan caves. The Russian traveler Nicholas Notovich famously claimed in the late 1800s to have discovered Tibetan manuscripts describing Issa, a saintly man from the West who lived among Buddhists and Hindus. Though many dismissed his story, it spread like wildfire, capturing the imagination of millions. Suddenly, the lost years of Jesus were no longer an empty silence. They were filled with images of distant temples, golden statues, and chants echoing in sacred valleys. In the 20th century, novelists and filmmakers embraced the lost years as fertile ground for storytelling. Nikos Kazantzakis in The Last Temptation of Christ explored the humanity and struggles of Jesus, raising the question of what inner battles he may have faced before his ministry. More recently, books like Jesus Lived in India or films exploring hidden gospels fed popular fascination. Hollywood and global cinema, too, could not resist. Documentaries speculated about Jesus' journeys to India, Egypt, or Britain. Dramas depicted him as a seeker of hidden wisdom. Some works were controversial, sparking protests and bans. Others quietly entered the cultural bloodstream, shaping how millions imagined those silent years. Why does this silence hold such power? Because it is a mirror. The lost years are not simply about Jesus, they are about us. Artists project onto them what they most desire to see: wisdom, adventure, struggle, or transcendence. In an age longing for spiritual unity, Jesus is imagined in India, embracing Buddhist compassion. In a time craving hidden knowledge, he is imagined among mystics and secret sects. In a world shaped by empire, he is imagined as a traveler, touching every land. Thus, culture turns silence into story, absence into art, and mystery into myth. Each version tells us as much about the people creating it as about the one they seek to describe. Even today, the lost years inspire countless novels, YouTube documentaries, podcasts, and speculative histories. Painters still depict Jesus against strange backdrops. Filmmakers still dramatize his hidden life, and musicians weave his mystery into lyrics. The silence is not empty, it is endless possibility, a blank canvas upon which every generation paints its own vision of the divine traveler. For more, you can subscribe to my channel and like my video.